Hello and welcome to Business Exposed, the podcast which discusses the unfiltered truth along with the reality of day-to-day life of either owning a business or running a business. Hosted by myself, Alan McMillan, and my co-host, Lynn McMaster. Today we discuss what it really takes to run a pub or a restaurant post-COVID, the ever-increasing sale of non-alcoholic beverages, along with modern-day drinking habits and culture changes, as well as how Andy get involved with setting up Scotland's first ever community-owned gastropub. We would appreciate if you could like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on and share with as many people as possible that you think would benefit from the podcast. As always, sit back, relax, and let's get right into it. What are you doing right now? What is your role right now? Are you employed, self-employed, consultancy?
I'm employed. I do some work, like consultancy work, if anybody can ask. Can I stock taking, any advice? I can advise.
All for yourself, or are you employed by anybody?
No, I'm doing that for myself.
Okay.
But now I'm employed by, I run a small social club now. Well, I say small, there's good numbers for the social club.
Right.
Only reason I've taken a step back for being the kind of, what you call running like a big Radstone hotel is because I've got two young kids. One's just started school, one's just gone to nursery after Easter. I just had to take, for family reasons, me and my wife broke up last year.
Right.
Because of the industry as well. I was trying to deal with kids and stuff like that, so I just needed a step back for running a place that's doing 150 grand a week to I'm doing a place that's doing that a month. Well, no, I wish I was doing that a month. I was doing about 10 grand a month or something like that. So it's nice, it's a busy social club, to be honest with you, kind of quite heavy for the football as well. So I'm happy with that now for a good, maybe 2-3 years. My two boys are settled at school. Then I'll get back, because I'm getting constantly offered work, but I've realised now with a family, there's more to life than money. Because I took a big jump to go and run a hotel for a lot of money. And I went for the money rather than what I knew it was. Well, I knew it was up against. And if it wasn't for the money, I'd have probably said no. But I thought, right, I'm chasing the money here. I think I can maybe fix this. I think I can go for it. But there was more politics in the place than Westminster, honest to God.
I think, to be fair, I've been caught in that, I would call it a trap before. In my previous job.
Before,
I know, and I'll keep continuing because I think it's something that needs to be spoke about. Is it people generally get a job because they need money? That's generally we need money to live, right? However, the bigger the carrot that gets dangled in front of you financially, the more you're inclined to take it. But you don't ever then generally. Most people don't sit down and go, hold on, here's the pros and cons, and you don't ever really put that negative list in front of you and go, right, there's a chance I'm probably going to get a divorce at the end of this, right, because I'm never going to see my wife and I'm never going to take my kids to school and nursery and so on and so forth. You always generally look at the first carrot and go, oh, there's a whack of cash if, and generally probably some sort of big bonus if we pull this off. But, and you get lured in by that, but then that's doesn't
basically
outweigh.
I learned effectively what happened. I took a big risk that I thought would benefit me, my family, everyone, and then I was working non-stop. I was getting stressed. I was moaning about work. I was dealing with work when I was not meant to be at work. Because it was a big hotel, big responsibility,
big pressures,
I'm supposed to have a big team, but it's, as soon as your operations manager goes off your head, it was quite tightly run compared to, I'd say, a more retail, like a Hilton, that's very structured, very teams like a general manager. So when you're like kind of that level, you're busy, you've got a lot to do, but you can easily feed stuff to your ops manager. You've got an F&B, you've got about 10 managers, and then underneath 10 managers, you've got another 10 assistant managers, then you've got another 20 supervisors. So you're not short of finding somebody that can
pick the
do
reins
something
up
for you. You know what I mean? But when you're running like a wee restaurant or even half a business, sometimes an owner might want to labour that tight where it's just you, an assistant manager, and a supervisor that you don't think's quite ready yet, but the owner's like, oh, I've got you a supervisor just to walk up at night, you know what I mean?
Generally how they get you to do it is because that's what we do in a family-run business, right? And then what I think they don't remember is, you're not my family, it's your family-run business.
Well, that's
I'm not part of your family, I'm just an employee.
That's the one thing that a lot of folk don't realise, and especially I don't think owners realise, is their vision and what they're getting out of it is totally different from what I'm getting out of it as a general manager or director or me running their business for them. What I get and achieve is totally different from what they achieve. And I don't think some owners realise that when they come away with, if I'm pulling 90 hours a week, I expect you to be pulling 90 hours a week.
Yeah.
No, I'm not getting a £1 million business at the end of the year hoping to get.
100%.
I'm still getting the 40, 50 grand salary at the end of, that's all I'm getting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you could dump me tomorrow and it's going to make no difference to you. You can get somebody else.
Aye, exactly. Exactly. I think that's, again, I think it needs to be spoken about quite a lot, is that does the salary match what you need to put in? Because there's a lot of guys I know in the motor trade and they're on easily 6 figures plus. But to get that, now, I'm not saying that's not a lot of money, but what I'm 100% saying, it's not a lot of money for what they're having to put in to get to get that. They're having to put in and treat somebody else's business like it was their own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
But that's what every
that-
owner wants, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're wanting the benefits at the end of the day, but not putting in the hours. They're trying
they're
to
getting
ask
the
you to
benefits.
put
I
the
say,
hours
as I've
in.
ran a business for somebody where I get that much trust in him that he went away to Dubai, left me responsible for his business. I was effectively responsible for his whole business.
Yeah.
I was running it, but I'm not getting.
You didn't get
30,
that.
He's turning 30 grand a week. Like, I
Yeah.
know he's not getting 30 grand a week in his back pocket, but
Yeah.
I'm not certainly getting but he's getting at it.
Yeah.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? I'm not getting to go to Dubai the end of the month or turn
No.
out to the boss and go, by the way, I need you to take over my shifts. I'm going to Dubai. You're like, well, we're going to find another job then.
That's it.
Exactly,
There's
exactly.
definitely a fine line, isn't there? I think both parties need to respect that you're there to do a job, but you need to be
That's what I mean.
respected as well. That
Yeah.
you
And
know,
I think that's why I've got on with a lot of owners. The majority of the owners that I've worked for is I've always said to any general manager or any manager that asks me for advice is treat the business as if it was your own. Like,
Yeah.
you need to really run it as if it was yours
Yeah.
and treat it with that respect. And and when it comes to making a decision, the amount of people that say to me, "Oh, what would I do here?" And I'm like, "Well, think. What would you do here?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What would you have done if I wasn't here?"
yeah,
I would have done this. And I was like, well, why are you not doing that then? Oh, I don't know if it's right. Well, I says, well, you're not going to find out if it's right until you've done it.
yeah,
I was like, that's who I'm where I am because I've made mistakes. I never
Yeah.
got here just because I done everything right. I was
Exactly.
like, I've made
Aye.
a complete drawers of stuff. I was like, I've spilt wine in folks' dinners and everything.
aye,
I was like, I've seen it. That's how I can stand back and watch and see things happen, or I can envisage things happen before they happen.
Before they
and I
happen,
put stuff in place so that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's why some staff think or I explain. I probably am a manager that maybe explains myself too much to sometimes staff, but I can mind being where they were and think, oh, he's just asking me to do something for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
Or he's an idiot.
But there's a
I'm
reason
not, I'm not
behind
doing
it.
that for him. He's just caught me talking. He's wanting me to go and do this.
yeah,
And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, the reason I'm asking you to do this is because this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I can see this is only, I know it's only 3 o'clock, but I know it's coming at 5
Yeah.
o'clock. I need us to be ready
Aye.
for a busy Saturday night. I've got 250 callers coming in
Yeah.
for between 5 and 9 o'clock.
yeah,
I know what's coming. I know when the busy bit is. I know when the chefs are going to get hammered in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like, I've got all this planned out. I've been here, I've done it. And I'm like, oh, but is that what you need to think about? And I'm like, of course that's what I need to think
Yeah.
about. How do you think the shift works?
aye, exactly.
Exactly.
The prevention.
Think I just walk in and just tell you to go here, and
Yeah.
I just step back and watch it happen?
Yeah.
Thing is that's
Yeah.
great for their learning and development as well.
Yeah, no, I think
and-
it's
and
very
their-
important because
their
there's a lot of
future
stuff I had to. I've criticised managers in the past. Going, what the hell do you want me to do that for? And then I've realised years later, and months down the line, when that situation's come
There's
back,
a bigger game plan.
I went, all right, that's why he asked me to do that.
Yeah.
That's why she's asked me
Aye,
to do that.
the light bulb moments come on there.
Yeah.
So the hospitality industry is generally known as quite a tough industry. So how did you get started in the industry and what made you realise that's where I want to be?
It's not where I wanted to be at the start. I'm going to be honest with you. I started off at college, went into coaching. I was wanting to be a PE teacher, to be honest with you.
Right.
I was very heavy into fitness. I was like, into football. And then I got on with one of my lecturers really well. I obviously done a lot of work because I had a vision of where I wanted to be in hospital. I've always kind of had plans in my head of roughly where I'd like to be in year 3, year 4, year 5. A lot of people are like that, take each day as it comes, but I like to plan.
Yeah.
At least have something to aim for. And but as I like into football, I get told, look, well, Rangers are coming in to look for coaches. I was only in the place not even a year of coaching. Don't get me wrong, I must have obviously knew what I was doing because it was only 3 years out of the kind of first years they got asked to go out of the rest of the year 2, the other years that were there. And there was about 20s.
Right.
And I just took the bull by the horns. I can mind the 2 coaches came in. Right, who wants to go first? Who wants to show us your coach? I just, well, I'm taking this opportunity.
Yeah.
I'll do it. and right away, and I was up on night, write my session plan it, made sure I was ready to go. I was not missing this opportunity, and to be honest, I ended up working for Rangers for about a year, dealing with the kind of old firm alliance. I've done a bit of work with kind of Celtic coaches in schools, and then I kind of moved on to the Murray Park Experience, it was called at the time, working with kids, kind of getting them coached by, but they would see as Rangers coaches, but they seen you by Rangers track, and they seen you as Rangers.
You're
You're Rangers to them.
you're the man.
So but I loved that job. It was that's what I wanted to do, and then unfortunately for me, it all happened during I was there when the financial collapse happened,
Right.
and nobody generally had a clue what was happening. From the bottom to the top to the bottom, nobody had a clue if their jobs were safe or anything like that. And I was getting promised the world, getting promised to go to Australia, getting promised to go to America to help set up coaching camps and stuff like this, and then it all just came crashing down. And I was working part-time in a bar, to be honest with you, as a student, but I was only in there on a Monday. I was in there on a Wednesday, and I was in there sometimes on a Sunday night for the elite group, the elite squads. I was touching base with that a wee bit, getting to see what it was like to kind of the next level before you get to kind of pro youth level and stuff like that. And as I say, it just all came crashing down. I was like, what do I want to do? I actually got chucked a set of keys by the time a manager had walked out when I first kind of started. And they were like, right, can you take the reins while we find out where we are? By the time we find out we are, Rangers will similar bought Rangers, you'll be back there, you'll be back doing what you want to do. I've been in the industry for like 15 years.
Here you are now.
Here I am now, basically. I just realised I was kind of probably young, probably a bit stupid, and thinking, right, I just put all my eggs in the one basket. I was told by somebody not to do that. I've learned from my mistakes not to put all my eggs in the one basket. I just thought, I'm here, this is where I want to be, I'm not going anywhere, I'm going to do whatever it takes to stay here and make it work.
Yeah.
And then obviously things out within my
Yeah.
kind of abilities kind of stopped that.
Out of your
And then I
control.
just realised, right, well, in hospitality, what do I want to do? I'm going to need money. Climbing a ladder in football to earn good money, especially in Scotland, isn't quick to get to the levels I hear say you're kind of 35, 40 grand kind of money.
Yeah.
Like your average coach isn't earning that kind of money.
Right, okay.
It's the money in Scottish football's ridiculous. And that's how I went, right, I need to kind of get my arse in gear here and think, where do I want to go? Do I want to kind of try and pursue this? Or do I just get my head down and get as much experience as I can here? And I just made bed with hospitality, to be honest with you, as much as the shifts were a nightmare at the start, and your feet are killing you, working 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
I don't even feel it, my feet are numb to that. But I just realised, right, this is where I want to be. And in my head, to be honest with you, I said to myself, I'm 34 now, if I'm not owning my own business or my own restaurant as such, I'm 35, I've wasted my time. And I said
Right.
that to myself at 22, 23. And I was close a couple of years ago taking it on, but it's just one of the things you're getting somewhere and you think you're getting there, and then something happens like COVID come into place.
Yeah.
And then when I came out of COVID, I was close to taking somewhere on. The lecky bills were an absolute fortune. Right now, would I even think it would be worthwhile taking a place on right now? I think it'd be mad to take on a pub or a restaurant right now in this
Yeah.
economy. So I was like, I've realised that was my target, but from my experience in the industry and kind of where I started and kind of what's happened and roadblocks put in place, sometimes the time you think it's right might not be the right time.
Yeah.
And
That's what I was going to say, is I think that's where some people maybe make the jump at the wrong time or the opposite, because they're maybe too looking at what other people are doing, and
Yeah.
we are the start of, me and you could do the exact same thing, but the start of my journey is at a completely different time at the start of your journey, and it's picking at your moment that's right time for you, and there's a lot of other external factors that are going to come into that. 9 times out of 10 probably financial as
100%.
well. I mean, talking about the effects of COVID, what effects of COVID are you seeing now on the hospitality industry
Now?
as a kind of general? I mean, maybe more talk about the pub example. What do you think the kind of effects are there?
Overall, I would say hospitality is still severely dealing with the effects of COVID. Like, they've no gone. As much as
I think it'll take a long time to.
I think it's going to be a really long time. I think financially the hit that hospitality got hammered. Like the government, there's no mistake about it. The government hammered hospitality, and nobody can say they didn't. They did. The hospitality came out the worst. They got absolutely punished for nothing, and then promised we were getting a Christmas. A lot of operators were expecting big money, and we get the carpet pulled within our feet within 2-3 weeks of Christmas happening. Like we had to shut our businesses. Like was the first kind of community-owned pub going back here, small business, but a big business to the community. That they were looking to generate a lot of money, and the first Christmas in the plate, and then we get the kind of just the carpet pulled under it with our feet, or you're shut, and we're having to think outside the box. Where I think still a lot of businesses are. I was back going where I had a board going, right, we're shut, and I'm like, nah, we're not shut. What do you mean? I said, give me an hour. Give me an hour. And I came back to you, and I just thought, I went and spoke to the head chef. This is what I was talking about earlier, about treating a business as if it's your own. Like, I was on full furlough. I could have went and happily played golf every day. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I had a newborn child as well, so I had enough to deal with and having to worry about a restaurant or anything like that. But I was like, nah, that's not me. So I went and spoke to the head chef, went and spoke to my manager, and at the time when I says, right, this is my idea, head chef. I said, I'm not telling you how to make a menu. This is my idea for a takeaway. What do you think we should? I says, this is what I think we should try it Thursday to Sunday. Let's see how it goes. And we were doing numbers at the first week of like 4 or 5 grand a week, doing takeaways. I was surprised the amount of folk that wanted a steak pie on a Saturday night. You know what I mean? I thought we wanted a pizza or an Indian or something like that. But no, I was very surprised, and that's what I said. Like, we need to think out the box because of COVID. And there's still businesses today try to adapt. I mean, there's a lot of kind of what you would class as your a la carte restaurants. There's restaurants you see now that you would have never thought going down the takeaway route. But they're offering that now because they need to. Because they're still dealing with, as I say, when I was looking to look at a business, they lost a fortune during COVID. A lot of businesses. They're still the electricity bills are killing everybody. And then when they were came down a bit, they went up a bit, and now folk are getting hammered now with increase in national insurance. I just get told a couple of days ago the breweries are blaming it on recycling, that the price of like a 70 CL was 20 pence on a 70 CL, 50 pence onto a 20 pence onto a litre, 50 pence onto a 1.5. And when I worked that out based on my last order that I put in there recently, I was like, that's going to be an extra 100, roughly. I was like, that's an extra £100 a month to the business. That's going to cost me that was just a wee average order. And I'm like, again, I'm going to have to put up my prices again. Then I'm up against it because the customer can't afford that. And the customer's coming in going, you're a robbing bastard, you're putting your prices up. And I'm like, no, what you don't get is I'm not putting my prices up to make any more money than I actually was already making yesterday. I'm just putting up to achieve the same GP I was already making to keep this place open.
Or sometimes you can actually be, your GP can even be less, even though the prices going up because of the increased costs, especially in what we're seeing in the property world, is especially with landlords and rent increases. That okay, yes, rent is going up, but our costs are going up more than additional
dwelling tax.
Exactly. So the costs are increasing. It genuinely
has a knock-on effect down the road. You know, whatever comes from the top, it has to have a knock-on effect down below, or you just won't survive. You're seeing a knock-on effect.
You see it from a lot of people don't look. We're saying they're talking about the bigger picture. See, if folk can't afford to go out, then it's not just hospitality. When I say hospitality, I include taxi drivers, I include hairdressers, makeup, I include all that within hospitality.
Luxuries. Because it's a luxury at the end of the day.
And if folk can't afford to go out to say like a party night and get all glammed up, then there's nobody going to hairdressers. So they're losing it. There's nobody booking taxis, so they're losing it. So there's 3 businesses there at least. All losing money.
You know, that's a really true point, and I've not thought about it like before. You're right, because I can remember, back 10 years ago when I was going out, and you would see, like sort of all the girls on their Facebook and Instagram, and they've all got their makeup and all that done. And I remember that was like a kind of thriving industry. Then they were all going to makeup artists and all that. I don't really see that across social media. I mean, I know it does exist, but you're right. I probably thought about it in terms of the night out, but you're right in terms of a broad brush. Nobody's getting the taxi to the venue, the taxi home, and that just makes them want to stay at home, which was what we were talking about earlier.
brings us nicely onto that topic again, where everybody's got their own sheds out their back garden and their bars, and nobody's going to cinemas because you've got Sky producing.
You can buy the film through Sky.
Yep.
As I say, everybody's get sticks these days. They can get films into their house. Like, everybody's got them. There's no point hiding it. We want to know everybody's got them. Like,
everything's instant gratification.
it's just sitting in their house.
But at a lower level, but at a lower cost to them, because again, they're having to make cuts because their electricity bills are also going up. So they're going, right, well, we'll not go out. We'll do it, we'll insulate ourselves, and so they're still almost living like it was still COVID.
Yeah. And that's basically what you're saying there about the effects of COVID, that I was talking to a rep a couple of months ago, and she was like, where do you see the kind of the industry, where do you kind of see it going? And I was like, see what I've realised with it, like, see people now, people have not got the money that I noticed in the past. At least I'd probably say in the last kind of 10 years, people have freely went out and dined 2-3 times a week, all the time. From even your younger generation, they just always want to be on Instagram picture and eating out. I'm like, I'm just getting the money for it.
Out the wee brunchy type places.
All the fancy places, Instagrammable, taking pictures. Look at me, I'm out every night eating. Sometimes breakfast, lunch and dinner. And I'm like, I want your job.
Exactly. What are you on?
You know what I mean? And then the young team coming to your bar and they're like, oh, can I get a double? I'm like, you're on double? How can you afford a double? But like these, that kind of, as you're saying, I've started to realise die down. The young team, I don't know, sometimes we're getting the money for sometimes, but the kind of older, I used to, as I say, we're running a couple of restaurants for folk. I had to see the same customers 3-4 times a week. You're not seeing them anymore.
No.
Okay.
You've not got the money for that. And I've started to realise that when I talk to other people in hotels and kind of hotel managers and owners, I'm like, the big thing people are looking for now is value for money.
Yeah,
and they're looking for like packages. Like somebody would rather, I feel the customer now would rather, for say, 200 quid go at the end of the month and go, right, we'll go for an overnight stay at Cameron House or whatever, 250 quid, 300 quid, dinner, bed and breakfast. Mm-hmm. That's other.
That's your fun. That's your fun for a month.
Because if you think about it, if you're going out to see Glasgow with just your partner alone, you're going for somewhere nice to drink, you're going for a whole shebang, dinner, drinks a lot. You're easy 200 quid anyway, 200 quid. So if you're sitting there going, well, for an extra 70 quid or whatever, or get a good overnight stay, relax, nice hotel, nice experience, something that you can talk about. It's just another dinner out in the town and another night in the town, somewhere that you can go, we've been to Cameron House or we've been to the fair or whatever. And that's where I think it is on and stuff like that are winning now, because a lot of people are looking for an experience now, like your hot tub is away and weekend breaks away. That you see, I'm seeing more folk go for that.
Yeah. And actually getting it's maybe just going to be happening once a month or once every 2 months, but they're getting a bigger benefit.
Yeah. Bigger benefit, a bigger experience, something they're going to remember, they can talk about, and there's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I see people booking these down the line, you know what I mean, rather than every weekend or 3-4 nights a week. Eating, drinking. I see that dying.
For a nice meal.
And I think that for our generation, where I can mind when I was younger, going out for dinner was a treat to me. Like, it was either a birthday or a Christmas or a random, right, we'll go for lunch here. But it was you were there, you probably go back for another 4 months or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's folk like that I see now coming back. I think we're going to end up back there because folk can't afford to go out.
They definitely can't. We were just out not long
ago.
That,
you know what I mean?
As a family, just to, I don't think even it was a birthday celebration. We just decided we'll go to Top Golf, and there was only the 5 of us. We were nigh on 250 quid.
I was going to say, I tell you something, but I know who's making the money. It's Top Golf. Right? Have you seen it?
Oh my God. We'll be back here for like 6 months.
That's what I mean about talking about an experience. It's a family affair.
But then what are you actually doing? You're still only spending you're only there for 3 hours. That's 3 hours that's cost you an absolute fortune.
I know.
What has been the experience really, other than you going home now and going, oh my God, that's just going to be till like July
I know.
before our next treat.
I know. Where do you see you're talking about creating experiences, and I think that's where the short term holiday world is thriving.
Yeah.
Do you see a pivot there? Because I mean, a lot of I've noticed. I mean, the short term holiday let now is definitely hospitality. The bar has been raised with the standard of these properties, and people who are, I certainly see who are coming into mind. There cannot be a tiny wee nick, a wee chip in the paper. They're expecting a show home experience, and it has moved into more hospitality. I see there's been a detriment to the hotel industry, but you can see they're bouncing back now, because a lot of these hotels now you can see are moving, they're pivoting the strategy, and a lot of them are going down like the sort of apart hotel strategy. I mean, but do you see like a pivot in that world in any way?
Slightly, I see more. Well, I've seen more kind of, let's say, the kind of older generation. I see your kind of folk that are kind of that kind of 50, kind of late 40s, 50 upwards bracket that are kind of looking towards retiring now and kind of looking towards their mortgages nearly paid off and stuff like that. And but they were the kind of people I would say I've seen quite a lot of, apart from your kind of young team all the time. But I see now from talking from family, friends, and I've noticed a lot more people in the past, say, 6 months going away for like 4 days abroad.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than an overnight stay probably here. Like I had a mate went away there a couple of weeks ago. Benidorm cost him £600.
Aye.
Bed and breakfast. I'm like, that's for £600.
Aye.
The Benidorm flights, sun, what you're getting. You're like, that's good.
Aye, you would pay that for a couple of nights.
For a Thursday to Sunday abroad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not bad money. Like that, if you're like, right, that's us for 4 months or something like that. Still getting a good 4 days. A better 4 days in blowing 600. Well, the time you spend £1,000, but if you can afford that, then that's a no bad.
Aye. It's not a bad deal.
It's no bad deal when you look at it that way.
Yeah,
rather than just saying 3 years in Top Golf and you're blowing nearly £300.
Aye, exactly.
I know. Exactly.
You made her feel worse now. She wish she went in Benidorm.
That's it for Top Golf. Not going back there again.
I know.
It is a shame that it's. I think COVID did make people change the way they looked about entertaining, but I also think that in the UK especially, I think greed has a lot to do with it, because I can't understand how it needs to be as expensive as it is to go to the cinema. Even going to the cinema, some of them aren't too bad to just get in, but the prices that they're charging you for your hot dogs and your things, that's just not necessary, I don't think. And these places could be a lot busier. People having a lot more fun, a lot more regularly, if they regulated that price. And they would still win at the end of the day, businesses, in my estimation.
Aye, I would agree.
No, 100%. That's why people just say are buying them at home, because the huge outlay for it is sometimes like unrealistic.
Yeah.
You go to the cinema and you see half the stuff they're charging you for, and you can get it for less than half the price in the shop.
Exactly.
So folk like that, why would I go to Cineworld or whatever and spend £70 when I could spend £20 and watch the same film in the house?
I know. I was going to say, you've got your Netflix account. I don't know what's a Netflix account, £6-7 a month or something like that, right? Most of them are actually, I think, now included in your Sky package. Most of them. So you've already got the film. You don't need to spend much money. It looks great on Instagram. The family sitting with the matching pajamas on, right? And so you're right.
It comes back to everything, though. Is that everything just seems so overpriced. Even restaurants you're looking at that are, look at the restaurants that are closing now. Who would ever thought that TGI's in Glasgow City Centre would have to shut?
I know.
TGI's, come on. But the restaurants they're dead.
Yeah.
They're never full covers all the time. Whereas if they've got the staff there anyway that they're paying, why not make the prices, although the prices are coming are a lot higher at the top end. Yeah. If they were getting more covers in the day, would it not balance itself out and then still maintain your business? Is that?
I know your costs are still your costs. But when you see your market menus, like you're kind of 2 for £10 and you're 3 for 7, you know yourself as a chef, they're taking a hit in the GP, massive hit in the GP for that. And you're trying to get the numbers in to make that up in a way, but it doesn't always pay off, because if I had to
become a busy fool potentially.
And it's just you're marketing the place sometimes more than anything, hoping they'll come back, or what a lot of owners or operators will rely on is, say us going out for dinner, two or one going on the market menu and somebody going for the main menu. That's where they're benefiting. Or you're going for the 3-course or the 2-course off the main menu and 2 folk are on the market menu. That's when they're making money.
Yeah.
That's what they're hoping for. Or you just come back and go, this is quite a nice place, I'll book this for a Saturday.
Right.
That's what they're trying to get out of you.
Yeah.
That's what they're hoping for in the long run.
So
But
almost what they actually need, and right now when it is a fight for survival,
it is a fight for survival, yeah.
They need that.
And if they want to kind of go cheap, some restaurants, you're jeopardising your customer.
Yeah.
That way, kind of some people are, this is us and this is what we do. Me, I'm no selling that. That is no me. I'm not McDonald's or whatever.
Yeah.
Some would be, or I'm no that. This is what I do. This is my business. And some people can be, some operators can be probably say too stubborn when it comes to that. They need to adjust.
Yeah.
Because
Not as good as adapting.
I worked an operator of that, and I had to say to him, like, you need to change your menu. Your local operator, competitors down the road's changed their menu kind of 8 times in the last 3 years. I was like, you've not changed your menu once in 10 years, and you're wondering why you're not getting much. I was like,
People are bored.
you've not even brought in a market menu. And at the point she was like, we don't need a market menu. I says, that's when you're worrying. Don't get too arrogant that you think you don't need anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't. I was very honest with her, and that's what kind of with some operators. She was like, Andrew, you're very black and white. Their name, but I was like, Joe, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm here to help you run the business. I'm here to, as I've always treated it as if it was my business. I know it's your business, but at the end of the day, if this business falls, I'm out of job, and I could probably go and get a job. But I'm like, I don't need that stress. I've got a job
I'm
here.
here to do my job. I'm here to do my job.
I shouldn't have to be thinking I need to go and look for another job shortly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here to help you make this business work. If this business work, I'm happy, you're happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, don't get arrogant to think you don't need to do what they're doing down the road or something similar to what they're doing, because I'll tell you now, that's why they're busy now. And we're sitting here wondering what we're doing
Why
and what we're
nobody's
not
coming
doing.
through our door.
And eventually that kind of got the cogs ticking in our head, and we brought in a market menu, we brought in a new menu, we got the place busier. It was like, you need to constantly, in hospitality, you need to adapt. You can't sit still. Now especially, you can't sit still. There's that many, there's as much as there are many places closing, there's other places out there.
Yeah,
Opening,
there's ones that are thriving.
There's ones that are thriving really well. There's ones that are going to get down the, try to be unique in a way and try to copy America a wee bit with your big plates, your burgers, your dirty frick, stuff like that. That's not for everybody.
No.
That's for your kind of, I will say, your majority, your kind of Instagrammable millennials. That's for them. That's what they love.
Yeah.
Yes.
But your kind of older age group, they want to go out for a nice meal and they're still stuck to this, I want a good steak pie, or I want a good fish and chips, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think you've hit the nail on the head there with the kind of millennial Instagrammable. I mean, I went to a place the other week with my brother-in-law, and it was one of these kind of big boxes where it was just the Instagrammable food, right, to cut to the chase, right? However, I think these businesses are also good at constantly keeping up with the trends and revolutionising, because the thing is, that's a generally, like, I've been there now, right? It's not something I would go every single week, right? The type of person who maybe goes for your fish and chips is maybe a weekly type customer, but these kind of fads, right, as I would call them, that you're going to go there once and then you'll move on to the next place. But at the same point, these people are good at constantly, and it amazes me how much you see how much they just revelise, you change it all the time.
Revolutionise their
A good guy with that is, I worked for a guy, Billy Milligan, who's very good at what he does, a very good marketer, he's very good at driving, he's got a good vision, he sees a lot of these things that he's seen. He's been in New York, he's been in America, he's seen these things, and I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to kind of bring them here, because he's like, well, if they're working there, they should probably work here. And it's something that nobody else is doing, so I've got something that I don't need to worry about the guy down the road, because this is
You're
what
doing
I'm
something different,
totally
yeah.
different.
Yeah.
And he's done really well, kind of old guy. We kind of turned in a kind of what's called into it was F Pizza, turned into kind of fullbacks, more kind of American typed sports bar.
Right.
There's always get the sports on, good fresh pizza, and that's what a lot of people miss by doing fresh food, don't they? Like, there is a place for frozen food, anyway, but I would never do frozen food. Like,
No.
I was like, I ran the boathouse in Kilsyth with the previous owners, doing upwards of 30, 40, 50 grand a week. We had fresh food. I had a freezer the size of a phone box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was just for ice cream, bread, chips.
Yeah.
And like, if we can do it in that scale, then any other business below that can certainly achieve that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Don't have to do their business properly. And he, as I say, comparison, like your kind of millennials, he's hitting that group very well. You go on his Instagram and that, you'll see the kind of pictures of the pizza, the kind of chicken bite, stuff like that. That kind of Instagram will
Yeah.
let the young team like.
Aye, that's what they'll drive across the country to go there.
I've got a guy I hugely respect, Ryan Barry, who I learned a lot from. He was a great operator. It's one of the people that he's like, you've probably seen somebody yourself in your kind of industry where you're like a sponge. You just, and like everything that they tell you, you listen.
Just take
Yeah.
it
You
right
just
in.
take it in, and that guy, basically, it was like a crash course in business, but I worked down for a year. Like, I learned more for him than I've probably learned for anybody.
Yeah.
In a year. It was just like, learned so much. And the kind of, you look at the kind of Bonnie Wild side of things, like in Edinburgh, your kind of gin bars, they've got a good mix there. Like, you kind of got Inverarity Morton's got the kind of whiskey gin bar. That's a more kind of different customer again. You know what I mean? So there's these people who kind of try to separate. You've got your kind of Instagrammer folk. They're trying to kind of get it all in the one kind of place, but you've got a big shop mall there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got, as we were saying, a captive audience. You've got
That's
footfall every single day. And that's a big thing that I see, just like we're talking about hospitality, where Glasgow, everybody's fighting for a bit of the pie because they're really needing to do something different and try and encourage more folk in there. Because when you look at Edinburgh, I play in a pipe band and we were in Edinburgh 2 weeks ago, and I get Scotland were playing Wales, but the place was mobbed.
Yeah.
It's a constant conveyor belt for tourists. Like, it's
That's it.
always mobbed. So you've always got customers. You know what I mean? And you don't see that in Glasgow. You know what I mean?
No.
Glasgow's
It's a completely different kettle of fish, though, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's an
Night and day.
it's an industrial city, whereas Edinburgh is more boutiquey.
yes. Aye.
It's got a lot more probably to offer.
Yeah.
You can say if you're going out to see your mates for a pub crawl, you probably say Glasgow. But if
Yeah.
you're going out with your partner for a nice dinner or somewhere, a nice day, you
You
probably
said
go to
to
Edinburgh.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Aye, there's two. Aye, I suppose it's back to that target market, isn't it?
That's
Who you going for?
One thing we talked about before we actually started recording was either chasing the money or chasing the happiness.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a thing going on in the world right now that's got that completely wrong? Or do you think it's changing it? Do you think the world's changing a little bit, that people are chasing happiness now, but it's not necessarily money driven?
I think there's a fine line between the both. I think, as I
Yeah.
say, I think there is people looking for the kind of, they're like, don't need the stress. As I say, COVID has played a part of that, is where that's how hospitality's kind of
Yeah.
struggling that side, it where a lot of chefs left the game. And they left it. A lot of people, I know there were chefs that was earning a lot of good money, but they were working 60, 70 hours a week, no windows, 9 till 9, 50-degree heat, like no breaks.
Yeah.
They've left the industry to go, and a lot of them are all drivers, like with Amazon DPD.
Yeah.
They're making maybe a slight cut of the money, but they're seeing their kids, they're seeing their partners, they're finishing at 6, 7 o'clock at night. Half the chefs have never seen 6, 7 o'clock at night in their life.
Yeah.
So they, in that respect, a lot of them have kind of went for happiness because they've worked for 10, 12 years, no seen daylight
Yeah.
for weeks.
Yeah. I mean,
And then there's,
that's exactly it. I mean, hospitality is it's a tough business to be in. It takes up it consumes a lot of your time, and there's a lot of sacrifices that have to be made, and there's a lot of losses that can be made, like through family and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
You know,
And that's what a lot of
takes
people,
a big hit.
for it out, for a customer, everyday customer that's never been in the hospitality, don't get. They don't understand what's happening in the background.
Behind the scenes,
And
we were
there's-
talking about that yesterday.
and-
And
and-
there's a big lead up to what they're seeing, which they just think miraculously happens.
I think
you
it
know?
just happens, it just appears, and the food just happens. And like, there's the chef's been in there since Thursday, and this is Tuesday afternoon. You know what I mean?
Aye, that is the
Preparing stuff,
reality.
that's it.
I mean, if I'm being honest with you, the reason, I mean, hospitality is the industry that I absolutely love. And if it wasn't for the reasons we've just spoke about, it's the industry I would still be in.
Yeah.
However, the reason I left the industry is because it was back to that kind of the light bulb moment. But I can remember one Sunday, and I just hated working Sundays, but I remember one Sunday just looking out into the restaurant, and the restaurant's packed, and there's loads of families there and couples, and they're all like having a good time, and then realising they're on the front, getting the pleasure and the gain,
benefit.
but the people that need to feed that are living the complete opposite life. They're away. One side of the door, get it out, so one side of the kitchen, there's somebody sitting with their family and their children, their partner having a great time. And the other side of the door, there's a male or female who's not seen their partner, not seen their... So
they're living the pain for someone else's gain.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's everything in life, isn't it?
Your
At the end of the day.
kind of Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, people don't realise, especially Christmas. And I kind of see... I used to kind of nag at sometimes family or friends or like that, why are they not open at Christmas? And I'm like, well, if you were working Christmas Day, would you be open?
Exactly.
They don't think about it for all respect.
Exactly.
That's their Christmas as well. I guess it's only one day, but it's only one. It's
only happened one day of the year.
It's only one day of the year.
Exactly.
And I respect the operators. If collies can shut the size of their business, they can make an absolute fortune on Christmas Day if they wanted to. They choose to shut.
Yeah.
I worked for when Ironman opened the boathouse the second time. He chose to shut Christmas Day.
Yeah.
That can be serious money to them.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
one, they don't need the stress of Christmas Day, and they also understand that it's a staff day as well. It's only one day.
The staff have families as well.
And you respect operators for that as well. And some folk don't get in. Some folk are like Christmas Day. Why is that a fortune? 70 quid, 80 quid a head. But the staff are getting paid double time.
Yeah.
They don't get that. The staff are there. They don't want to be there.
They don't.
Certainly one day of the year that everybody doesn't want to be there.
Exactly.
But they're there because they have to.
Yeah.
And they're knocking their pan in from 9. They get up in the morning with their family. They're in for 10 o'clock and they're not getting home at 6.
That's it.
The time they go home at 6, I've been there. I've came home, my family's been gone, and I'm sitting eating Christmas dinner myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You've missed it.
And I missed it, and I'm like, that's it, done.
Yeah. And are these values that you've brought into your recently launched community-based gastropub? Tell us a little bit about that, Andrew.
Yeah, but that experience for that was good. That was a very unique venture where in a wee small village called Banton, it's only got population of, I think when I done a count when I was there, it was no any more than 400 or something like that.
Right.
Wow.
Small wee farming village. It's like Emmerdale. That's the best way to describe it. But it's a nice wee community, close-knit community, nice wee bowling club. And way back at the start, it was a wee community. It was losing everything. The shop had closed. They were losing their bus route. The pub was going to go next. And they were like, we've got nothing.
Yeah.
And fair play to a woman, Annette, she done the drive. She was like this isn't happening. Kind of tried to find all avenues of where can we get money to save this pub.
Under community.
Under community, yeah. And the only way we were in the European Union at that time where there was the European, there was all these different foundations that helped generate money, because what we were always told, we didn't get money to run a pub. We get money to run a community hub is the way we kind of got around it. And it was basically the pub was going to facilitate the community hub. That was going to be the money. That was going to be generated and help the community in the hub. So if we raised a profit, if we were sitting there eventually with 200 grand a bank, and the community decided they wanted a 11-a-side astrograss part for the kids or a 5-a-side part for the kids.
Okay. That's what was going
That's
to fund
where
that.
it went to. Or if they wanted to invest in a shop, then the money would go. Whatever they wanted within a 1.5 mile radius of that community, that is where the money could get spent on whatever they decided. I worked for a board called the People United for Banton, and then I ran the pub it was called the Swan at the time. And any profits I generated, that would go to the committee and they decide how that's spent. It was that different way for a big operator coming in.
Yeah.
Draining,
and they just wanted
draining the community, taking on the money,
and
then 5 years later disappearing, no caring what happens.
Yeah.
And then leaving the pub a mess, and then have no business. So they were like, this is ours, this can't go anywhere unless we decide it goes somewhere without. And if it does go somewhere, if we do decide to sell it or put flats in it or whatever they decide, the community's going to benefit of it anyway.
Yeah.
It's our decision.
It's their decision.
To
Me as being the operator, going, right, I'm selling this pub, I don't care what you say. I've got a contractor coming in, he's going to put flats in it, and I'm making a fortune, and I'm leaving you with nothing. She's like, I don't care. I don't live here. This time Glasgow somewhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that stopped that happening altogether, and it was an old man's pub based. It was based. It was like an old fashioned. It was built way back pre-World War, and it was just what people would call like a spit and sawdust pub.
Okay.
That's what you call it in the game. It was just an old, tired pub. And a pub that had character, and that's what a lot of pubs now got these, that old-fashioned kind of character in a pub, like see like Still Gamer. That's what it kind of had, and that kind of changed because that had to get ripped into a shell, put back into a more modern gastropub type place where it was going to attract families.
Right.
You're going to have sit-down proper meals, but it did do that before. It tried that, and it did do well for so long, but it just kind of fell, it tailed off. We were doing really well with the business where as I came in and I had to envision it, what it was going to look like.
Right.
And then, as I say, any profits I generated would go to benefit the community. And I employed a couple of people from the community. I took staff with me from previous businesses to get it on, because for me, staying where I stay and so close, I had family, friends, like, I kind of felt it was eyes on me to get this right.
It must have been a lot of pressure on you.
I don't think people realised how much pressure it was, because I was like, I can't fail. I cannot make this not work. This has to work.
Too many people depending on you.
There's too many people depending on that, and I'm not having the one that says, "Oh, Andy, if it fails, Andy made an asset." That's not happening. I'm not having that. I ain't having that. So that's brought. I put a lot of work into that to make sure that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But that's why I surrounded myself with bodies that I could trust. That people I took for other places. Yeah, I brought on new staff because you want to bring on people that are wet behind the ears, as you'd say, and are going to learn your ways. And I brought on staff that were going to teach them my ways, that I could focus on other things, because I had to build a front of house team. I generally built the business as if it was my own. I had to find a front of house team, find a kitchen team, find a head chef, negotiate with every supplier to get the best price I possibly could for the business. I promised I wouldn't get them in a contract or tied to them. They would be a free house, so they could feel free to shop everywhere and anywhere they wanted. There's some supplier isn't playing the game and think they could up their prices one day. We'll just come and take your blanket out, we'll get something else. And I made sure I achieved that for them. And I left in a good position where they were doing really, really, really well. But it's one of these things where I had to move on from it, because I couldn't do anything else but be where I was.
Yeah, what you've been employed to do,
it's
been achieved now. It's time to hand the reins over. And
somebody that I respect really well, who owns a very big business, she said to me, Andy, get 2 years under your belt, get this place. Your job is to get this place up and get it up and running.
Yeah.
Do that, disappear.
Yeah.
And you've done your job. That's your job, really. Here.
You've kind of done a Gordon Ramsay that goes into these restaurants in America or wherever that are like failing.
I felt
and
like
turn them around.
That's how my CV's so big. You look at it, but that's just hospitality. You know, a lot of people don't realise that hospitality is not an industry like every other, where people do move about. You kind of have to move about, because hospitality is so broad that it's not just, it is when you put it to come down, it is just food and drink. But there's so many levels to hospitality that people don't realise. And that's why I felt I had to get as much experience under my belt as I could. So if I was sitting in an interview with another general manager or a company director or whatever, I've got more experience than him. I want to be better than the next person sitting next to me, kind of thing, and give myself the best opportunity. But the community thing was absolutely great. It was the people were great, getting to know the people I didn't, I thought I knew, didn't know, and I got to know a lot of people. It was good to kind of see a business coming from genuinely nothing to being a really good, proper, thriving business. And I was ready to press the button in March before Cheltenham, before we knew what COVID was.
Right.
And then I get told, don't.
Yeah.
I was ready to open. What did I do? As I say, I had to wait to reach out to help out. That's when it got opened up.
Right.
I get the staff in, get them opened up, and I just asked the board, and I says, I know we've waited 4 months here roughly to get this opened. I need a week. We need a week. I need a week. I says I need my team to know what we're selling here. I says I need the chef to cook off the menu. I says you've asked me to make sure that I'm hitting this place with the ground running for day one. I was like, so I need a week. I was like, what we done, we got one of the big gardening companies called us. They brought a lot of their staff in, and that was a kind of trial run with them one night. Then we had the board in one night with a trial run. Then we had some customers for the community came in, and one of the first nights I had the staff seeing the menu. I says, because I want the staff to be able to, when the first customer walks in here Monday, I want them to have no excuse to go and approach and talk to a customer. They will know what it looks like, they know what it tastes like.
Yeah.
none of this. No, I don't know. They can recommend dishes to customers. That's what I always wanted my staff to do.
Yeah.
And then, as long as long story short, we battered that out. We went over stuff on the Saturday. I says, right, team, going over rest on Monday. Monday morning, showtime. This is when we open back up. This is when for real. And one of the best kind of comments I got of 2 customers in the first week was, food was good, blah, blah, blah. Staff are so well knowledge. You think this place had been open for months. And it's only been open 3 days or something like that.
Yeah.
But I've always said, like, knowledge. Like, if you know your products and you can be confident as a waiter or waitress, or like you can go to a table, you know yourself as being a customer. Somebody comes up and goes, my name's Andrew, I recommend this. I've tried this, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for a drink, we've got what lagers you got, you can name at least. If I've got 6 lagers, you can name at least 4 of them. Yeah. What wine you got, if I've got 5 of them, you can name at least 4 of them. You know what I mean? And you'll buy right into that and ultimately spend more money. Exactly. Yeah. And or if you're sitting with, I had a friend who's very good at his wines, and if somebody's having a pasta, that's what I would recommend. If you're having any wine tonight, I'd recommend this. 9 times out of 10 they went for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there is sometimes, that was the element I used to say to staff, see, if you don't know something, don't lie. The worst thing you can do is lie to a customer. That is the worst thing you could ever do. And it was like, if you just say, I'm not sure, come speak to myself, I'll go speak and then come back and tell them. Yeah. But that's it, when you're a waiter, I say to them, see if they're talking about gardening, they're talking about, you be whatever you want them to be, they want you to be. I say, that's how you're going to make your tips. I mean, that's the only time I expect you to lie. Just say, my granny's into gardening, man. I helped her with it later. They're into this or that. Try and relate to it.
It's just conversation, isn't it?
You're their best pal at the end of it, and then they've tipped you a fiver. I've been
everything.
My granny or my uncle's been this or that.
The thing is, but I think that's what people forget, or unless they're trained correctly, the waiter or waitress, whatever way you doctor it, is a salesperson.
100%.
You know, and as I think unless that's been tuned into them through training, that's when they maybe don't recognise that. But as we said before, everything in life is selling.
And there is some folk don't realise that. Because I'm going to be honest, there is some in the sales side of the hospitality game, like being into a rep, there is jobs like I have went for. And what mesmerises me is 9 times one of the questions is, what do you know about sales? And I was like, what do you think I've been doing for the past 10 years?
Exactly. That is my job.
That is what I need to do. I need to sell the business. I need to sell what I'm trying to feed you.
Exactly.
I was like, what do you think I've been doing? How do you think I've managed to make some of the places I've run so successful? Because if I can sell them.
Purely through sales.
But I think as well, I mean, I used to be in the travel industry, and you can do this on anything related that you're dealing with customers, is that it is like you're putting on a show for them every day.
It's a show,
If you're in a travel agent, you're wanting to... We used to have like Amber Solaire, like bottles. We used to have them like in the, the wee candle things, and like the smell of the suntan lotion. So that when the people were coming into the travel agent, it was already set in their mind to go, man, I'm booked my holiday today. I'm not leaving this place until I've booked the holiday already. And everybody was to be in a good mood, upbeat, and that's what you're doing. Hospitality, customer-related industry, whether it's Marks and Spencers or anything, you come across somebody that's you've approached and asked them a question and they're miserable as sin, you just don't go back because there's too many other people out there that can offer you something better. And that's what customers want.
It's rotten to say when I say to someone with the kind of staff, we're saying earlier on, mental health's a big thing these days, and everybody's got their problems in life. And I try to say to my staff, I'm like, I know I've all got issues, but try and leave your shite at the door when you come in. Yeah. I mean, like, they're paying 50, 60 quid, 100 quid for a meal. They're out to get away from their rubbish. Yeah,
exactly.
Have a good time.
They're trying to escape their disasters.
You don't want to listen to your rubbish. Yeah. So to speak, I was like, if you're not happy with something, you come and speak to me. I will try and help you the best I can.
We'll
put you back together. In a good mood.
But when we were working, I was always, as I say, when you're saying, I used to say, like, on a busy Saturday night, well, all right, let's go, showtime. Yeah. They're like, what do you want about showtime? I'm like, that's a show. Yeah. It generally is. It's a theatre. Like, people are expecting an experience, and whether I want to give that experience or not, I have to. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I need to put a face on. I don't want to be here. I would love to book my mates on a Saturday night in the pub or something. But I'm having to put a show on as if this is the best place in the world.
Yeah. I think that's why so many people who are in the hospitality industry enjoy it. Because it is, like, as you say, like, you could be on a 12-hour shift and you could have worked, I don't know, ate them already, but come 5 o'clock on a Saturday, you're right, that's when the real showtime kicks in and everybody's got that buzz, there's that drive, there's that adrenaline, and there's that real sense of achievement.
Yeah,
You know,
because you've all
once
pulled together as a team as well.
Exactly.
And then the other sort of flip of the thought after customers go, you're like knackered, son.
That's
because I've had 3 hours sleep in 2 days. You know what I mean?
The good thing is, I think a lot of people are accustomed to that, and they know what the hospitality industry is like, and probably sympathise a wee bit.
I think some do. I think there's some that still expect, they don't care if you've got sore feet. And they'll expect 110%, regardless of what you're feeling like. And that's where I feel, you know, customers can be a wee bit harsh.
But sometimes operators can be that bad as well, and I've not been shy to say something like that. It's my team. I look at after them as if it's this is my team.
Yeah, it's like family.
They're here to help me, and there's a lot of fun. And I've sometimes been running hotels where I've had a team, and I've been in the next morning. I've thanked them that they're turning over, say, like a big lunch from the Friday night, 300 people lunch. We're going to a wedding on the Saturday. I've got staff that's done that dinner for 7 o'clock, but they're willing to work till 4 in the morning to try and turn that, as much of that room round as they can for the wedding the next day. And I've done, and I know how I've been there as a staff doing that, or I've had to stay there and make sure it happened myself because I've not enough staff. And then I'm saying right away, I'm like, I'll try and get you a room in the hotel tonight if there's a spare room, so you don't need to go home.
I was just about to say, what kind of things do you do?
You need to try and negotiate with them. He's trying to try. Some of them don't. Some owners like, right, I'll see you back here at 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't work like that. I'm like, look, we'll go to some food. They'll get your breakfast in the morning. I've got your room in the hotel. Be up and ready. Get your breakfast. We'll meet here at 10 o'clock. Wedding ceremony starting at say 1 o'clock. But they're only getting 4 or 5 hours sleep. But you're trying to. They're helping me.
Exactly.
And sometimes the owners are like, what are you doing that for? I'm like, I says, look, they're here to help me to help you.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, and if some don't think of that in the bigger picture, like
we're in this together.
Look after them a bit. You look after it. I've always said to the owners, say, you look after me, I look after you. I've never quite got that. One operator got it right, where if you look after your staff, they'll look after you. The proper ones will look after you.
And in return, they'll look after the customers.
Yes. And they're the ones that's looking after your business. They're the ones that's making you money at the end of the day. And I think if you look after them, they'll want to come to work. They'll want to work for you.
Exactly. It breeds loyalty, and it breeds respect, and it just makes everything run smoother, and they feel appreciated. There's nothing worse than you're getting hammered by a boss continually, and he gives you nothing but your wage at the end of the day. And I know that genuinely that is what your boss is only meant to do. But that is a bare minimum. You're getting your wage, and they expect everything for that.
Some of you don't even get a thanks. Sometimes you're just good enough. Some operators you don't even get a thanks. It's just expected.
It's expected.
And I get it's your job, but there's sometimes you're like, you know,
you've got to show
I've got my plan in here to get this to where this is. Or I've pulled a 90-hour week this week for you, not for my benefit really, because there's things I've done that I'm on a salary, and there's a lot of folk who no, I'm on my salary. Why did you do it? Because I had to. Because I'm the manager.
Exactly. That's
you know what I mean?
What I'm really employed to do.
And there's owners that have slap you a wee whatever.
Go and
we'll
look after you.
Go and you and your missus go and enjoy a wee meal or whatever. But then some owners will just walk in the next morning and go, what's that not done? And I'm like, why is that not done? You having a laugh?
That's it. And
you keep that up, nothing will get done today.
It comes back to when the owners they're not on the forefront, and they're not seeing everything. They're standing back, and they're wanting you to do the work. But
the worst operators are the ones that's not worked in the industry.
Exactly.
They're the worst operators to work with. I've been lucky enough to work for good and bad operators, and you learn for the bad how not to do stuff. You learn more for them.
Exactly. I would agree.
Because you know what not to do.
I know exactly. For some of them, certainly they know what not to do. But some of them, like, as I say, when you're talking about money and there's some people don't think they can just go and buy a restaurant or go and buy a pub and they'll be millionaires by the end of the year. It does not.
It's not going to happen.
There's no. Their heads are up their backside. And sometimes when I watch, like we're talking about Gordon Ramsay, no wonder he goes into some of these places and he's pulling his hair out. Because they're like, what are you? Why are you even here?
Exactly.
Because there is people within the hospitality industry. I'm like, you shouldn't even be anywhere near this game.
Exactly.
It's not a Scooby.
It's not even just the hospitality industry. I mean, you'll be blunt here. Not everybody has it cut out to run a business.
No.
You know, with the challenges that come along with running a business, not everybody's cut out for that, and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
But it's the ones that think that they are when they're not, that's where the
And
it's
aren't willing to
completely
listen.
obvious.
yes, and that's where the challenges
Yeah.
become. What effects of the fitness industry had on the hospitality industry?
Massive now. Can I briefly get on to you, just to kind of get to this? As you look, as I say, we talked earlier about the pubs in their heyday in
Yeah.
the 90s when you could drink and drive, wasn't an issue. Nobody cared. Look, you had no Sky in the house. You had the drink ban wasn't in. There's pub, you had your Monday club. It was historically called.
Yeah,
Doing 6-7 grand in a month. There's so many pubs doing that in a Monday, I can assure
No.
you.
yeah,
And then you came away into kind of now, the present day, with your Instagrammable millennial folk that want to take pictures at the gym and
Yeah.
eat nice food as if they're celebrities.
Yeah.
Or they're their own celebrity within where they are. kind
yeah,
of thing.
Yeah.
their own wee community.
And the fitness industry now, and I think there's been a kick when we were kind of briefly talking about COVID, that again is had an impact for that because a lot of people have been a lot more conscious of themselves.
Yeah.
And want to be better than themselves, and I have no issue with that.
Yeah,
But as I say, that is what's made a big effect on the drinking culture.
Yeah.
Because you're a young team these days, is what I would kind of see, your 18 to kind of 23-year-olds kind of group, that when I was younger, you were Friday, Saturday night, pub, nightclub,
Yeah.
town.
yeah.
Glasgow was chock-a-block.
You were barely sober for the Monday.
You're sometimes you've got to back to Monday.
I know. in at 5 a.m. and back up at 6 for work.
You were, as soon as finish your work at 5, you're away, and that's you. No back
Aye.
to 8 o'clock, get a shower, then you go to
Yeah.
work at 9.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
They're
But
not
that's
interested,
gone.
aren't they? Aye,
Oh,
that's
they're like, what you do that? Oh, you're an idiot.
yeah,
You're
Yeah.
like, no, I enjoyed myself back then. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But they're away from that, like what you would call back then an empty.
aye.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear them
I've
go,
not
it's a
heard
gaff
somebody
now.
mentioning that word for years.
An empty. I said that now, the young team was like, what's that? And I'm like, I think when you're one day
A gaff?
You have like a
It's
gaff,
called a
what's a
gaff
gaff?
now, like, yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, very sorry. I was like, yeah, the times here.
Aye.
But
No,
that's
you-
what I say, that's what's changed, and that's what's brought in again the fitness industry. The amount of mates that I've got are just fitness mad.
Yeah.
Like, and it's someone that's changed their whole lives. I've got a friend, she's a very good personal trainer, and she's just honed in on it, and she's made that her life, she's made that her business.
Yeah.
And she does really, really well. But then it took effect, as I say, nightclubs are shutting. There's no many nightclubs in Glasgow anymore
Yeah.
because your young team are not interested. The non-alcoholic market is just catapulted, and
Yeah.
a lot more people going out now would drink a 0.0 Corona or whatever. Like one that's mentally now is 0.0 Guinness.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just took off. Like that's just
Wow.
went like wildfire. Because it's, I think, one of the ones that's closest to what it actually tastes like.
Like the
Yeah,
real thing.
aye,
the
Yeah.
real thing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
as I say, that is what the fitness game now, and your young team, like, they're massive on it. Everybody's big on it. Your young team are bigger on it, I'd say, but everybody now has. I'd probably say now, if you to look back, I'd probably love to ask. I've got friends, a gym manager, what the rate of memberships were, say, back 10 years ago
Yes.
to now. I'd love to know that
Yeah.
figure. Because
Well, you could ask him another questions, what their memberships were, but how many turned up.
Aye, that's what I was thinking. What was
Because
the
you
actual
usually get a big
Closing
rise in
memberships.
January and then nobody comes and
Aye.
then it
And they're
drops.
never there for February onwards.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. 'Cause I mean, if I go to the gym, the gym I go to is just next to a high school, and if I go there at 3:15, the gym is full of, high
Young
school children.
Yeah.
And by the way, you want to see some of the shape in these
Oh,
guys
no.
and girls,
Yeah.
right?
Put you to
Like we
shame.
16-year-old guys, right, and they're like proper bodybuilder shape.
Yeah.
But there's a double-edged sword because there's the negative to that. There's a positive as to their life is healthier, but they've also got the negative as they're comparing, as we're talking about the Instagrammable life. They're trying to keep up with each other on Instagram.
Yeah, because this is what we should look like.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then that's like has a mega negative effect. You know, I mean, you look at like teenage suicide rates. Like the highest they've ever
because they're
been.
not achieving
because,
that.
Yeah, because why do I not look like that? There's a double-edged
It's
sword.
a double-edged. I
because-
think in life there's a double-edged sword with everything. I think the good thing about it is going to have a knock-on effect with the hospitality, but again, this is where they can swivel if they're bringing out things like your zero alcohol drinks. Then you can still go out, because I was always brought up with the mentality. I wasn't a big drinker when I was younger. And I didn't have. I was always the nominated driver when we were going anywhere. So you can have a really good time without getting smashed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So this is where hospitality again is that, that doesn't have to be the core element of your weekend. Is that you have a hangover on Monday morning.
Yeah.
Till the following Thursday.
Well, that's the thing that you see. I see now. Like I see more people I know taking pictures on Instagram at the gym on a Friday night. If you're at the gym on a Friday night, you're a sado.
I was going to say that. You 10 years ago, you get
You're
bullied.
not got a
pals.
life.
No, you're right. That's what
Now it's the other way about. What you doing? You're getting looked at for going to the pub on a Friday night.
I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah.
That's where you can really see the world is starting to
It
change.
is starting to change a little bit, and I think I don't think that's been by. I think that's been a little bit by design, because I think in future, the NHS is in a mess, and that'll take a huge pressure off of people turning up with a multitude of illnesses that can be controlled better through diet and better healthcare. So that again is a double-edged sword.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think, as you say, the hospitality industry is one of the industries that is great and does thrive on being able to pivot the strategy.
They've had to be.
So,
It's the only way to survive.
No, you're right. Whether it been through COVID where they couldn't open the restaurant. I mean, remember back in COVID there was restaurants who were selling their meal, like they would pre-pack all the ingredients and drop it off to your house. So whether it was like a roast dinner, but the chicken would arrive raw, but it was all prepared and you just had to cook it. And so they pivoted there. Now, as you were talking about there, they're pivoting between alcohol sales are down, so let's pivot to a non. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, 10 years ago, how many non-alcoholic beers was there? Like one that was sitting on the shelf with dust on it, like you probably had to blow off if somebody ordered it. Whereas now
There's a golf club that I help. They've got a fridge, and I have a full-blown fridge with at least 12 different non-alcoholic options in there.
Yeah.
And I'd probably say about 90% of them sell.
Yeah.
They'll sell.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's one of the biggest places I've seen it, especially from a golf club's perspective.
Yeah.
When I know a lot of older people or whatever, and you're drinking their lager or their heavies or stuff like that. But no, for non-alcoholic, like as I say, the past year, 2 years especially, where your likes are, well, I'm not name drop brands, I'm not benefiting from it, but at least your Corona, you're getting like they're the ones that I see that's coming in. Because as it says, about a year ago, they were trying it, but nobody was interested.
Yeah.
I can mind it was coming in and they were trying it, and what's that? And don't get me wrong, some of them tasted disgusting.
Yeah.
But I think they've kind of refined the taste now, they've played about with it. And they know the market's there for it, so they have to
They've
make
had
sure
to
it's
try
good.
harder. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They kind of just chuck it out there and folk will accept it.
Yeah.
Because I think it was on the news like maybe last year. There's a pub down south that is just a non-alcoholic pub.
Yeah.
And the guy makes good money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Aye.
And I'm like, is that where things eventually, in the next 10 years, 15 years, could be? There could be more or just as much of them as alcoholic pubs, if you know what I mean.
Aye. I mean, my personal point of view, I know everybody's different, but my personal point of view, I would happily see that because, like, I'm not saying I've not drank, by the way, I've had a great time in, circa 10 years ago. I don't drink now. I personally think alcohol's the devil. I think it should be banned. To me, it's a drug.
Absolutely.
It has its place because historically, the people, there's businesses relying on it, there's government relying on it. But if you just look at it in its it's a drug. You're putting a toxic chemical in your body that changes your feelings, thoughts, emotions, and 9 times out of 10, destruction comes off of the back of it. We'll all know somebody, or know who's somebody who's been an alcoholic or had some sort of detriment. Or we've probably all, including myself, made a bad decision off the back of, drinking alcohol. A lot of great nights out as well, by the way. I'm not saying that, right? But
Amazon sales go up a multitude on a Friday and a Saturday night
Aye.
because people are drunk at home and they're ordering all sorts of rubbish on that thing.
So the name of the holiday homes, by the way, you get a lot of bookings on a Saturday night. People, do you know,
So if we don't want
let's just
to
book a night
ban
away.
it completely, then we might just retract that.
Just
bit.
retract that a wee bit, but I
there's
think,
a flip side to that in a way where, like, I see they're dying out. It's a shame they're dying out. Your older group, your kind of what would class as your half and half pint kind of guys that would get into the pub on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That would pay your wages in a pub. They would watch the racing. Say 12 to 4 in the afternoon or something. You'd be chatting with the door at 11 to get in.
yeah.
But see, I'm dealing with pubs and when I was younger and stuff, a lot of folk be like, oh, they're better away at the pub again. He's never out of place. He's an alkie. But see, somebody, he's not an alkie.
Yeah.
His wife died 10 years ago.
He's there for the social.
His family are miles away.
Yeah.
He's not got anything but his house in
He's
the pub
lonely.
to meet his pals. And see a lot of these older guys that see people see in and out the pub or outside the pub every day. A good majority of them are lucky, either in there for 12 to 4, but they'll probably drink 4 pint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Aye, they're not.
They'll
in
nurse
there.
it a wee while longer.
A lot of them are all just lonely. They're just to be honest, a lot of these guys are all just lonely. Their family's gone, they're grown up and away.
Yeah.
Their wives have passed away or whatever. Or their wives are
it's a hub to socialise.
They've not got anything but that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them would be lost without that. And that's what, when you go like the COVID side of things,
Yeah.
a lot of old folk didn't know what to do. And then again, that affected pubs because a lot of the older generation weren't safe to come back out. But then again, a lot of them were happy to be set up in the home, where in the house where their kids or their sons, daughters had set them up on an iPad with the Sky and the rest.
Aye.
Well, I
They
don't
never
need to
had
go
that
to the
before.
pub anywhere.
Aye.
You know what I mean?
Aye.
You know what I mean? I'm sitting in the warm in my house. I don't need to go to the pub.
Aye.
And I know there's that. I'm like, where's such and such these days? Oh, he's not, don't see him much anymore. He sits in the house. His daughter bought him this, got him that. So he doesn't need to go out. She doesn't need to worry about him trying to get him for the pub.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's again affected the pubs as well.
But that's where I think, again, the fact that you're coming from a community-based... what you've just launched in the community base is a great thing. I mean, that's going to have can play a huge impact for all those types of lads or women who have lost their husbands, or because the biggest killer is loneliness a lot of the time as well. You know.
Sometimes you see the other side as it can be a demon as well. Some people say it as a get out. Away for the stress and kind of deal with it. And there's people I've had to pull aside and speak to them and say, look, screw that. Like, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
Now, there's folk that are like, is everyone all right? Aye, everyone's all right, Andy. And I was like, well, and even if they're in for a few drinks or what, I'm going to do you a favour. You're eating 3 and you can get up the road.
Aye.
Yeah.
And that's me not being an arse. I'm
No,
actually doing you a
that's
favour.
you being caring.
Yeah.
You know what I
Which
mean?
is
I'm looking at
completely
him like,
different.
just a 3 go up the road.
Aye.
Yeah,
You
you're
could quite
right,
easily
that's
say,
fine.
you know what, I'll sit here all night and
I
we'll
can
put
sit
as
here
much
all
money in
night
the till, but
I'll fill the till and
Yeah.
look at me, the owner, look at the sales, they're great.
Yeah.
I can't live like that. You know what I mean? You get to know folk.
Yeah.
Networking is a massive thing, as I say, I can touch on is like there's a lot of people, customers that I never knew that I became friends with. There's people that I've got that I never thought would maybe go in with that I do go in with.
Yeah.
And they've followed me to other places. But that's because I've gone with them on a personal level as well. And that's a kind of another kind of subject, as I say to staff, is touch tables. Always talk to your customers because you never know who you're speaking to. You have no idea who you're speaking to. And I've helped and they've helped themselves.
they've probably helped you as well.
And helped me for the industry, for a business point of view. They've helped a lot of I know staff that's helped themselves land themselves a job when they finish school or finish uni or whatever, because they've ended up talking to a lawyer. Well, I learned a lot of lawyers for them. I'm in my last year at uni. Well, you know what? There's my number. So when you're finished, come speak to me. I've ended up that job, or they've took my stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But as I always say, you never know who you're
to
speaking to.
Good communication again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But this is what's not. I don't think it's getting taught enough in schools because you're hoping that a lot of that. I don't know where you learned it all, Andrew. Probably through your business, but a lot of that have come from parents. You know, some of it will have come from school. Everybody has a part to play in making people more round.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the world's kind of going a little bit wrong
Yeah.
just now.
Yeah, especially your kind of younger generation. They don't know how to communicate.
Well, the phones has made it even
Phones
worse.
don't
I know.
help. Social media doesn't help.
No.
But there's a lot of them. I feel like the younger generation have just been so wrapped in cotton wool. Like,
Yeah.
there's been no freedom for them to go and experience stuff themselves and learn
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My husband and I were talking about that just the other day about, kids walking to schools because the traffic in the morning. My school run right now is taking an hour and a quarter between roadworks and whatever else. But I mean, they live too far away to walk to the school anyway. But that all had a knock-on effect because communities didn't feel as safe because of the troubles with kids going missing and, getting knocked down on the road, got up hit and run or whatever. You know, it's
The one that I deal with quite a lot is that their mum and dads are so quick to come up and why's my son not getting shifts? Why's my daughter not getting shifts?
Yeah.
My dad would never dare go
No.
to my work.
I know.
Her mum go to work if I wasn't getting shifts.
I know.
No.
They'll be like, you're clearly not doing your job right.
Aye.
Exactly.
You don't work hard enough.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And there's
Exactly.
times where I've had them turn up, why you not giving my son shifts? I'm like, I'm going to be so honest with you, I've been giving your son shifts. But it doesn't like work.
Yeah.
What do you mean it doesn't like work? I was like, well, there's the last 3 weeks' rotas. And there's my emails there with requests off.
yeah.
So he's been telling you he's going to work on a Friday, but he's not. He's been going to his mates for a party. He's been
Yeah.
going to a
Yeah.
gaff
Yeah.
or whatever. I've caught folk. Well, I've caught their sell it.
Yeah.
Their mum and dad's come and ask me, why's my son or daughter not
Yeah.
getting shifts? No, they have. They just don't want to work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the amount of folk that the young team that they don't want to work.
They don't want to work.
But they still,
And I've had
they
to say to
still
them,
want paid.
See, but they still want funds to go and do what they're doing.
Do it,
And I'm like,
exactly.
they don't realise. You need
That
to
has-
do this first before
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go and do that. If
Exactly.
you enjoy your Friday night, you need to go and do a bit of work.
Yeah, exactly.
Monday to Thursday.
I say to staff, like, for you, I says, I will help you. If you help me and work together, if you're wanting your pals 21st off, come and tell me. She didn't organise the party yesterday. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
come and tell me as soon as they know, you know,
Yeah.
come and tell me and I'll make sure you're off.
Aye, we'll work
Yeah.
together.
Don't come to me on a Wednesday saying, oh, can I get my pals party off on Friday? When you're already, the rota was out last week and you know
Aye.
you're working for
Yeah. Yeah.
5 to shutting time.
Yeah.
No, it's not
Yeah.
going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like, right, come in, do your job, see what it's like, I'll get you away at 9
Aye,
or something like
look
that.
after you.
But
Yeah.
see, when
Back
I
to
need
that
you to come in
relationship.
a Sunday afternoon and I'm up against it, that's
Yeah.
when I ask you, that's when
Aye.
you need to return
That's
the favour.
payback time.
Exactly.
Aye, but
Yeah.
our young team don't get it. Like, if an owner done you or a manager done you a favour when you were young, you owed them and you would respect that.
Yeah.
Some of the young team are like that. Or you phone them, nah, I'm not coming in. Or it's so easy for them just to pick up the phone and go, I'm not coming in today, I'm just not feeling good.
Aye.
You know, like,
That's what paracetamols are for.
just get up and go on it. I'm like, if I had to say
That's
that
what
to my
I got
dad, I'd be
told.
like, get up,
Aye.
go.
Yeah.
Aye. Get
Shift it.
backside to work.
I know.
Exactly. I think as well that
If you're wanting to fit about, you better go and fucking hit them. You know what I mean?
I think it goes back to the team thing as well. You know, if you're going to, if that's your attitude, you're not just letting yourself down, you're letting the
Oh,
team
no,
down
no,
and
no.
putting everybody
Exactly.
else under pressure, and nobody likes to be put under any more pressure than already under, and
Because
that's
you're
just
just effectively doing somebody else's job.
exactly.
Yeah.
And there
Exactly.
was one business I know had done it really well. I know if they can't afford to do it, but it was quite a good concept. I don't think they're about much longer in it because of that, maybe. But but it was quite good what they done. No, it was like if say the 3 years were on a shift and one is didn't turn up, whether that was a manager that didn't turn up or they still their wage was still factored into labour forecast, so they split the wage.
Ah, right, okay.
Right.
So
That's a
like, if
good
they were a
idea.
tenner an hour, well, we were getting a fiver each.
Aye.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we
And
were
it-
getting an extra fiver each an hour on the top of our shift because we're doing your
Two
work
jo-
because
aye.
you're
You're
only
doing
here.
1.5
So I'm having
jobs.
to do, we're having
Yeah.
to do extra work.
Aye, that's a good because the business. As you say, the business is already
They've
put
already
that
factored
cost
that
aside.
in. Yep, and they already projected what they're going to make that day. So the way in their eyes, like, it's money we've already spent.
Yeah,
Exactly.
their
not
head.
any loss in any way.
And
Yeah.
that was an incentive for the staff to keep staff and not have a high turnover. That it's actually your best interest if somebody doesn't turn up.
Yeah,
That means
Exactly,
you're going to make
yeah.
more money.
your pal's going to end up with a new gutties or the new trainers or whatever that you've just funded.
Exactly.
Well, listen, Andy, I think we'll wrap it up there. I
Yeah.
think we could probably all agree. We could probably talk
Talk
all
for
day.
the rest of the
Talk
day.
all day.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think listen, we'll wrap it up there. I'll put all your links to your social handles on the links below. So if anybody wants to reach out to Andy, any further insights in the hospitality industry, then
He's your man.
he's your man.
For
He's your
Thank you very
man.
much.
Connect with him.